Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to, this is literally Cringe Compilation number 31. In today's Cringe Compilation, we'll be on Felina Wizard, aka Sorcerer, Animate, and or Deccan Winer. Even though we've already left them into dust, but what I can say is that I'm making this Cringe Compilation, and then I'm making the video called, or titled, What Deccan Megan alongside the entire LBE clan really became. So technically, there's gonna be one more video to go before officially retiring. I did mention that last time. There will be two more videos to go before officially retiring from this Deccan and LBE drama. Cause we've already left Deccan into dust. And apparently someone has hacked Felina for a reason. So yeah, as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Alright, so there is this video going around which depicts me talking to this minor bad, but it's not me. It's some imposter account, and I'm going to prove it right now. First, I'm going to be showing the video containing the messages from the imposter account. Okay, so at first glance, someone might think that this is me because they tapped on my account and they showed the username as well as the ID. However, despite this not being me, there already are some things to prove it's not. First of all, I do not talk the way the account does. Second of all, the grammar. Unless I'm using all caps, I hardly ever use capital letters, and when I do not just make the first letter of a whole message capital if there's more than one sentence. Third of all, I never even interacted with this account in my life, which I'm going to prove. You see that? No messages. Even though this was not me, what I theorized this person could have done to make it look like it was me is add an imposter account to a group, but leave my actual account in the group, and take advantage of the fact that I wasn't looking at Discord at the time. What they must have done was take advantage of me being in that group by tapping on my profile from a message that I actually sent on my Felina Wizard account. Then, after tapping on my profile from an actual message that I made, they scrolled down in the group very quickly because they didn't want anybody to see messages from my actual account. And that is why my profile is specifically at the beginning of the video framing me. The video was likely trimmed using a video editor. And also, the reason it looks like there's only one profile from someone in the group aside from the person framing me's profile is because they had to have removed me after sending all the messages on their imposter account out of me. And also, the reason it looks like there's only one profile from someone in the group aside from the person framing me's profile is because they had to have removed me after sending all the messages on their imposter account out of me. Discord has this new feature where there will be profiles of people inside a group icon circle. However, when there's only two people in a group, and when someone is looking at the group, the icon of the group will be the only other person in the group's icon, which is the case in the video slandering me. Also, I was getting accused of posting an inappropriate picture of Mario and Sonic. I'm gonna debunk this. I never did that. What actually happened was I was exposing horrible people who posted an inappropriate GIF of Mario and Sonic making out. To those that don't know, Sonic is 15 and Mario is estimated to be 24 or 25. In the GIF, Mario was pulling down his overalls, not to the point where his bottom was exposed, but still enough to where his back was exposed. And I still considered it inappropriate, which is why I censored his back. And in another screenshot that I provided, I censored Mario's shoulder. I did this censoring because I just didn't want to make anybody uncomfortable. I was taking screenshots of these horrible posts from these people containing the GIF and censoring Mario's back and shoulder in both the images since I didn't want to make anybody uncomfortable because I was trying to show evidence against these people. I even specifically said to not go to their channels to find the uncensored GIF. I was literally trying to keep people safe. This is going to be the end of the video. All I'm going to say is, everyone that keeps on purposely defaming innocents for no reason at all, karma's going to come back to get you all one day. And you're not going to like it.
Matthew the Epic Blue Animator 2006, known by many simply as Matthew, might initially come off as a kind, fun-loving, and upbeat individual, especially if you're only familiar with the version of him he puts on display in public platforms. At first glance, he seems like the kind of individual who's supportive, approachable, and easy to be around. He presents himself in such a way that it's almost disarming, and to many individuals, that charm works. But what I've learned the hard way is that this surface-level individual doesn't tell the full story. Behind that friendly mask lies something far more troubling, something darker. And today, I'm going to be talking about all of it, every bit, every layer of manipulation, betrayal, and change that I've personally witnessed over the course of knowing him. The truth is, Matthew and I share quite a bit of history. This isn't some distant acquaintance I'm talking about, no. At one point, we were close, really close. We had a solid friendship built on shared hobbies, late-night chats, and hours upon hours of gameplay. We bonded especially over Roblox, a game we both loved and invested so much time into. I can vividly remember us jumping into games together day after day, the three we played the most being Local Official, Greenville, and Murder Mystery 2. There were others, sure, but those three hold the most memories. Good ones, at least at the time. They were our digital playgrounds, our little escape. I remember showing Matthew all of my Roblox accomplishments, things I was genuinely proud of. After all, I'd been playing since June 2014, back when I was still just a guest, and I finally made an actual account in February 2015. That history meant something to me, and I thought it meant something to him too. For a while, it felt like it did. I had even trusted him enough to talk about some serious things, things I hoped he could grow from. There were moments when he did listen, he understood. He even changed for the better, or so I thought. But as time went on, something in him began to shift. It wasn't instant. It crept in gradually, like a shadow getting longer and darker as the sun sets. The turning point came when I made the decision to speak up about someone named Xenox, who had been acting disturbingly creepy towards another individual named Chokus. I exposed Xenox because it was the right thing to do, because staying silent would have made me complicit. But instead of standing with me, instead of supporting someone who genuinely cared about the individuals involved, Matthew turned on me. Without hesitation, he chose to side with the one causing harm. That moment, it changed everything. That choice alone reveals so much about Matthew's priorities, his values, his judgment, and the individuals he chooses to protect. And this wasn't just one misstep. It was the start of a pattern, a deep unraveling of who he truly is underneath that well-crafted image. And trust me, there's a lot more to say, so let's begin peeling back the layers. This is only the beginning. Let's start with one of the most disturbing revelations about Matthew that I ever had to face. One that shattered so much of the respect I once held for him. It might sound unbelievable at first, even absurd, but unfortunately, it's true, and I wish it wasn't true. This is something he said himself, something he stood by. Matthew, the individual I once considered a close friend, is a known supporter of animal cruelty. If you're wondering what kind, I'm talking about the kind that involves actively joking about, condoning, and even fantasizing about eating cats and dogs. Yes, you heard that right. Cats and dogs. Months ago, he openly admitted that he saw nothing wrong with turning beloved pets, our companions, our friends, our furry family, into soup. He thought it was okay. normal, justifiable. And when a then 15-year-old named Wind jokingly offered raw dog meat, Matthew, who was nearly 19 at the time, didn't recoil, didn't reject it, didn't call it out. No, he agreed to it, willingly, casually, like it was no big deal, as if what he was supporting wasn't something utterly vile, immoral, and deeply heartbreaking to anyone with even a sliver of compassion. Now, let that sink in. This wasn't just an edgy joke, and even if it had been, that wouldn't make it any less disgusting. Individuals love to say things like, oh, it was just one comment, or he apologized, so let it go. But no, that doesn't work here. Not when the thing you're joking about is turning innocent animals into food. Not when it's something so vile, so deeply against everything I stand for. And Matthew didn't even stop there. He doubled down on it. This was more than a tasteless slip-up. It was a glimpse into a pattern, a mindset that's dangerous, and honestly, sickening. And what makes all of this hurt on an even deeper level is what came before it. Because not too long before he revealed this side of himself, Matthew and I actually bonded over a sweet little Roblox cat game. A cat game. We spent hours there, and at the time, I remember feeling this sense of warmth, like we both shared something wholesome, gentle, and beautiful. He even made a cat-themed avatar for himself. He chose to present himself as a feline in a digital world, where we both got to live out this fun, cozy, cat-like life together. But that version of him, it's long gone. Now he's become someone I can only describe as a monster. Someone who doesn't just dismiss empathy for animals, but actively mocks it. He threw all of that away. He discarded it like it never mattered. And to say it's sickening doesn't even begin to cover it. It's devastating. It's enraging. It's evil. I make this very clear. I am, and have always been, a fierce and unapologetic supporter of animals, especially cats and dogs. They are more than just pets. They are companions, loyal souls who bring joy, healing, and love into this world. They deserve to be cherished, adored, protected, not slaughtered, not boiled, and not eaten. Anyone who thinks otherwise, who even entertains the idea that it's okay to consume innocent creatures like that, is in my eyes, an abomination. There is no excuse, no backpedaling, no oops, I didn't mean it that way. And yes, I know, he's tried to save face. He's tried to say, I'm sorry if I offended anyone. But that kind of hollow, watered-down apology means nothing when the damage is already done. When your actions and your choices reveal your true values, no amount of public damage control can erase what you've shown yourself to be. Once you've revealed that you're willing to joke about harming animals, or worse, actually support it, that stain never washes out. Individuals like this can't change. Once someone makes it clear that they're fine with animal cruelty, I can no longer see them as anything other than dangerous. Because that mindset, the normalization of violence against the innocent, is just as revolting as other unspeakable acts like zoophilia. Yes, I said it. It's a horrifying spectrum of evil, and Matthew placed himself on it willingly. I will never stand with behavior like this. Never. Let's now talk about something that also absolutely cannot be ignored or swept under the rug. Because when someone chooses to downplay or excuse something as serious and traumatizing as sexual assault, especially when it involves a child, that tells you everything you need to know about who they truly are. And Matthew, he made it loud and clear. Matthew is a pedophile sympathizer, and that's not just an insult. It's based on his own words and the stance he chose to take. It involved a 23-year-old adult laughing at a joke about sexual assault directed at a 14-year-old child, and instead of seeing that as the vile, unacceptable behavior it is, someone, almost 18 years old, said it didn't matter. That alone is horrifying. But what's even more horrifying is that Matthew defended this scenario. He argued that this situation was somehow forgivable. He didn't label it as instantly disqualifying, as irredeemable, or as something that should never be tolerated under any circumstance. Instead, he opened the door to forgiveness, for a scenario where a legal adult made light of a sexual assault involving a child. And let me remind you, Matthew was already 18 when he said this. An adult. Someone who should have fully grasped the gravity of what was happening. And yet, he stood on the wrong side. He made it crystal clear that to him, this didn't cross the line far enough to be considered unforgivable. But let me make this clear for everyone listening. There are some things in life that should be universally condemned. Some acts that, regardless of context, intent, or apology, are always wrong. And laughing at or defending anything that even remotely involves the sexual assault of a minor is one of those things. There is no nuance here. There is no gray area. If you're old enough to understand what sexual assault is, then you're old enough to know that it's not a joke. It's not forgivable. It's not okay. And if you try to say otherwise, then you're no better than the abuser. That's the reality. For Matthew to even entertain the idea that forgiveness is possible in that situation, it speaks volumes about his character, or rather, his complete lack of it. This wasn't just a disagreement. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a deliberate defense of a predatory mindset, and it was made by someone who, at that point, should have already known better. He didn't have the excuse of being a clueless child. He had the awareness, the intelligence, and the age to do the right thing, and he chose not to. He made that choice, and now he has to live with the fact that individuals see him for who he truly is. Now, let's talk about something that, frankly, made my skin crawl when it happened, and still does to this day. Because aside from his disturbing views and defense of unforgivable behavior, Matthew has also acted in ways that are outright creepy, wildly inappropriate, and shockingly irresponsible, especially considering how close he was to adulthood when it happened. At one point during our interactions when I was confronting him in 2023, Matthew deliberately brought up and referenced a pornographic site in a chat where a 13-year-old child named Call Me Fen was present. Call Me Fen would later turn 14, but at the time she was still just 13. Meanwhile, Matthew was 17 years old, less than a year away from being a legal adult. That's a 4-year age gap. In a situation like this, when one individual is underage and the other is nearly an adult, you know the individual that is nearly an adult is a horrible individual. The power dynamic, the intent, the consequences, it all comes into play. Now, Matthew later tried to downplay this incident by claiming he didn't know that the site he posted was a pornographic website, but let's be real, how believable is that truly? This wasn't a confusing or vague site name. It's literally a slang-heavy title that all but screams what it is. And even if we gave him the biggest benefit of the doubt for 1 second, he still used that term repeatedly, turning it into a running joke. His entire sense of humor revolved around it at the time. He didn't just mention it once and move on. He made it a theme, a personality, a punchline. You'd think that someone who was only months away from adulthood would have done even minimal research before throwing around terms like that in front of children. You'd think he would have paused, thought twice, Googled it, something. But instead, he chose to lean into it, to joke about it constantly, without a single thought for how that might affect the younger individuals he was interacting with. And yes, I know some individuals are gonna say, well, he was just 17, maybe he didn't know better. But let me tell you something. At 17, you absolutely should know better. You're more than old enough to understand the concept of age-appropriate behavior. You're more than capable of realizing that referencing or joking about adult content around children is wrong. He wasn't some clueless little kid. He was almost an adult, and yet, he still did it. Whether it was ignorance, immaturity, or something darker, it doesn't change the fact that he exposed a child to adult content. It doesn't change how incredibly reckless, tone-deaf, and creepy it was. And it certainly doesn't undo the fact that he never took real responsibility for it. He just offered excuses, like he always does. And I'm sorry, but when you're almost an adult, I didn't know is no longer an excuse. It's a warning sign. Just when you think things couldn't possibly get any worse, they do. Because in addition to being a creep, a sympathizer of abuse, and an all-around dangerous individual, Matthew is also a doxer. And not just any doxer. One who has repeatedly, and without any sense of empathy, targeted children by exposing their private information knowing full well the kind of danger that can cause. On multiple occasions, Matthew maliciously leaked the real last name of my close friend SG, also known as Griffin, even after SG made it explicitly clear that he did not want that information shared. SG was only 14 years old at the time. Meanwhile, Matthew, he was 18, an adult, an individual fully aware of the risks that come with exposing someone's identity online, especially when they're underage. Yet he did it anyway, willingly, repeatedly, without a shred of remorse. And that was only the beginning. Matthew went even further when he praised another infamous bad actor named Babbo, someone with a deeply troubling history, by celebrating or brushing off Babbo's own doxing of SG and another child named Megan. That praise came in the form of a comment, a casual public act that showed just how little Matthew cared about the safety or dignity of the individuals being violated. He praised a predator for doxing kids. Let that sink in. But it doesn't stop there either. Matthew also targeted and exposed personal information belonging to Winter, who was 15 at the time, Cookie Aiko, who was 17 at the time, and Megan, again, who was 15 at the time, not just privately, but by spamming their information in the public HXR server, a place that had hundreds, if not thousands of members watching. That's not just irresponsible, that's intentional endangerment. He exposed their names and personal data in a server filled with strangers, trolls, and potentially dangerous individuals, putting them all at risk. And again, let me make this absolutely clear. All of those individuals were still children, and Matthew was a full legal adult. He was 18 years old with the full cognitive awareness of what he was doing. These weren't impulsive kid mistakes. These weren't heat-of-the-moment slip-ups. These were deliberate acts of digital abuse meant to shame, intimidate, and endanger young individuals who trusted him, or at the very least, existed in the same space as him. The power imbalance is massive. The intent is crystal clear. He didn't care who got hurt. And what makes it even worse is that no matter how many individuals called him out, no matter how many children were affected, Matthew never truly took accountability. He deflected, he made excuses, and the damage was already done. Let's call this what it really is. Matthew is a child doxer. He is an endangerer. He is a digital abuser. And the fact that he was 18 when all of this happened makes it not only disgusting, it makes it criminally cruel. There is no coming back from that. As if everything up to this point hasn't already made Matthew's lack of morality disturbingly clear, there's another layer to his behavior that cannot be overlooked, and that's his willingness to stand by and do absolutely nothing in the face of real targeted abuse, and even worse, to laugh at it. I'm talking about Crimson, a figure known for being blatantly racist, homophobic, and transphobic. This is not some vague accusation. Crimson has made openly hateful remarks targeting marginalized communities and has shown a consistent pattern of prejudice and cruelty. Anyone with even the tiniest shred of empathy or respect for human rights would have condemned his behavior on the spot. But Matthew didn't just stay silent, he laughed. He laughed while Crimson sexually harassed Megan's family. Think about that. Sexual harassment is one of the most serious violations someone can commit, especially when it's directed towards innocent individuals who weren't even involved in the situation. Megan's family was targeted, and instead of defending them, instead of stepping in, instead of showing any basic living being decency, Matthew chose to laugh. He laughed in the face of cruelty. He laughed in the face of sexual harassment. And through that act, he showed exactly where his loyalty lies, with the abuser, not the victims. By doing nothing, and worse, by finding it funny, Matthew proved that he is, at best, completely indifferent to the suffering of others, and at worst, an enabler who actively enjoys watching individuals be degraded. His laughter wasn't innocent. It was a choice to mock victims instead of protect them, to stand on the sidelines and treat real harm as entertainment. And let's not pretend that this behavior is neutral or meaningless. When someone laughs at sexual harassment, they are supporting it. They are sending a clear message that they see nothing wrong with it, that they are okay with it continuing, maybe even encouraging it. And in Matthew's case, given his history of predatory jokes and boundary-crossing behavior, it raises another chilling question. If he can laugh at someone else sexually harassing Megan's family, who says he wouldn't want to do it himself? That's not an exaggeration, that's a real fear. When someone shows they find this kind of violation amusing, when they defend or minimize abusers, when they repeatedly stand beside toxic individuals like Crimson and say nothing, they are complicit. They are participating in the harm, even if they never type the words themselves. Matthew's actions here, or rather his lack of action, paints a dark picture. He is not someone who merely didn't want to get involved. He is someone who chose to be a spectator to someone else's pain and laughed about it. There's a word for that. Sick. There's no delicate way to say this, so I'm just gonna say it plainly. Matthew is a bigot in multiple repeated disgusting ways. His words and actions across time have revealed deep levels of prejudice, cruelty, and hatred, and it's time to confront that fully. Let's start with the racism. Matthew is racist. He is not black, yet he has repeatedly used the N-word, an incredibly loaded and painful slur with a long, violent history. He has used it casually, as if it's just another word to him, completely ignoring the suffering and systemic oppression that it carries. And when confronted about it, instead of apologizing and learning, he tried to excuse himself by claiming he's part Native American. But let's be absolutely clear. Being Native American does not make it okay to say racial slurs targeting those that are black. These are two completely separate communities we are talking about, with different histories of marginalization, and pretending that being from one gives you a pass to harm another is not just ignorant, it's deeply disrespectful. But the bigotry doesn't end there. Matthew is also homophobic. He has used the F-slur, a word historically used to dehumanize and torment homosexual individuals, while also not being homosexual himself. One of the individuals he used it against was my former friend Maddie, who, regardless of her later actions, did not deserve to be called that slur. And let's be real here, it doesn't matter if someone turns out to be problematic or flawed. The usage of slurs is never justified. Bigotry is bigotry, and throwing around slurs like that just reveals how comfortable Matthew is with using hate speech when it suits him. Not only did he repeatedly use the F-slur, but he also mocked Maddie's pansexuality again and again by making fun of the prefix pan in a childish, ignorant way. He acted as though the pan prefix meant she was attracted to literal kitchen pans, turning her identity into a joke. It was blatant mockery, and it was cruel. And for the record, because apparently Matthew never cared enough to learn, the pan in pansexuality comes from the Greek prefix meaning all, as in being attracted to all genders, not objects. This isn't just an innocent misunderstanding. It's willful ignorance used to belittle someone's identity, and he did it publicly, repeatedly, and shamelessly. This is not someone who just doesn't get it. This is someone who chooses to punch down, someone who uses queer identities as a punchline while hiding behind fake cluelessness. And when someone shows you who they are through repeated acts of mockery and slurs, believe they are horrible when you see them doing that. And if you thought that was it, nope, there's more. Matthew is also transphobic. He has used one of the T-slurs, a derogatory term used to mock transgender individuals, and he has gone out of his way to insult Maddie again, this time for being bigender. He disrespected his identity, mocked it, and dismissed his existence as if being bigender wasn't real or worthy of dignity in his eyes. This kind of behavior doesn't just hurt individuals, it contributes to the culture of harm, rejection, and violence that so many transgender and non-binary individuals already face every single day. There was a moment, a deeply telling one, when Matthew targeted Amber, one of Maddie's names at the time, and used the word autistic as an insult. Not in a clinical, respectful, or understanding way, not in a discussion, but as a way to put someone down, as a way to make them feel less than, to degrade them. And let me be absolutely clear, using autism as an insult is ableism. Full stop. It is cruel. It is hurtful. And it perpetuates the stigma that neurodivergent individuals, especially those on the autism spectrum, are somehow worthless, are targets to be mocked, or are weird in a way that deserves ridicule. Autistic individuals already face so many challenges in a world that rarely accommodates them, let alone celebrates them. They deal with misunderstanding, exclusion, bullying, and isolation every single day, and when someone like Matthew uses autistic as a slur, he's actively contributing to that suffering. He's reinforcing the idea that individuals with autism are something to laugh at, something to shame others with, something bad. And the worst part? He didn't even care. There was no apology, no reflection, no sign that he understood the weight of what he said. Just another heartless comment tossed into the air like it meant nothing. But it does mean something. It means everything to the individuals who have been hurt, mocked, or misunderstood for who they are. It means pain. It means dismissal. It means that someone like Matthew sees them as a joke instead of a living being deserving of dignity. And that is unacceptable. Ableism, especially this casual, everyday kind of ableism, often goes ignored or minimized, but not here, not now, not anymore. Because every form of bigotry deserves to be called out, and mocking neurodivergence is no exception. And now, here's the most horrifying part of all this. Matthew has expressed Nazi sympathies. Yes, you heard that right. He has shared multiple videos that include swastikas, and worse yet, he has made hateful anti-Semitic jokes at the expense of Jewish individuals. This includes him using the K-slur, an incredibly offensive term with a long history of being used to persecute and dehumanize Jewish individuals. This isn't just bad taste, this isn't dark humor, this is hate. Real, violent, genocidal hate. And to even dabble in Nazi symbolism or mock Jewish suffering shows complete disregard for millions of lives and generations of trauma. All of this is extremely disgusting, vile, and dangerous, and the fact that one single individual can harbor so many layers of bigotry, racism, homophobia, transphobia, ableism, anti-Semitism, and literal Nazi glorification should send alarm bells ringing for anyone who still defends or associates with him. Because at the end of the day, it's not just edgy humor, it's not just words. It's hate, it's dehumanization, and it should never, ever be tolerated. Nobody should be acting like this. Nobody should be laughing about this. And Matthew's behavior in this area alone is enough to permanently disqualify him from any kind of social trust, platform, or forgiveness. This next part is one of the hardest to talk about, but it's also one of the most important, because Matthew's actions haven't just been harmful, they've been life-threatening. Due to the relentless pain he caused, Matthew made Megan feel so hopeless, so broken down, that she openly expressed wanting to shoot herself with a gun because of him. And if that doesn't make your heart stop for a second, I don't know what will. Just let that sit for a moment. Someone was pushed so far by Matthew's behavior that they contemplated ending their own life because of him, because of the things he said, the way he treated her, the relentless negativity and harassment she faced under his influence. That is not something small. That is not a joke gone too far or a situation that can be brushed aside. That is almost a death. A real living being with a beating heart, nearly gone because of the actions and words of one deeply irresponsible, cruel individual. If Megan had followed through, it would have changed everything, and Matthew would have been a part of that forever. Let's be honest, if you bring someone to the point where they feel like dying is the only way out, you are no longer just mean or problematic. You are a danger, and Matthew showed no empathy, no regret, no understanding of the weight of his actions. And it terrifies me to think that someone so casual about that level of harm is still walking around like nothing happened. Beyond his harm toward Megan, Matthew has shown a long, disgusting pattern of harassment, especially toward vulnerable individuals, including children. One of his many targets was a 15-year-old named Bella, who was only 14 at the time when Matthew began bullying her. He insulted her appearance, calling her a cow, reducing her to a cruel, body-shaming punchline. That alone would be enough to shatter someone's confidence, but he didn't stop there. At the time, Bella identified as a non-binary, but didn't reveal it until later, so Matthew was under the assumption they were female but still labeled them as a man regardless. Since then, Bella has come out as a demigirl, but to Matthew, their identity didn't matter. All that mattered to him was having another target to mock, belittle, and humiliate. Mocking someone's gender identity is never okay. Ever. And just like with Megan, he went after her too. He repeatedly told individuals to dislike Megan, actively rallying hate against them like it was some kind of game. He fat-shamed her, making fun of her body in the cruelest ways possible. And perhaps most chilling of all, he even mocked their suicidal feelings. That's not just bullying, that's emotional abuse. To make fun of someone for being suicidal, to laugh at their suffering, to shame them for the darkest, most vulnerable feelings an individual can have, that's pure cruelty. It's heartless. It shows exactly how far gone Matthew is when it comes to basic living being empathy. Because to him, pain is funny, suffering is something to exploit, and it doesn't matter how old the individual is, how fragile their state of mind is, or how many times they say please stop. He'll keep going. He always does. This is not someone who simply makes mistakes. This is someone who harasses and humiliates others deliberately, for attention, for entertainment, or simply because he knows he can get away with it. And the individuals he hurts? They're left picking up the pieces. So now that everything has been brought to light, every dark, disturbing, and inexcusable action, Let's not sugarcoat it. Let's call it exactly what it is. Matthew the Epic Blue Animator 2006, or simply Matthew, is not just someone who messed up or made a few bad choices. He is, by every measure, a dangerous individual, someone who has hurt individuals across all kinds of communities and continues to show no real remorse for it. He is a racist, having used slurs and excuses to minimize real harm. He is a homophobe and a transphobe, weaponizing slurs and mocking identities he doesn't understand or respect. He is an ableist, using autism as an insult to hurt those that are autistic. He is a Nazi sympathizer who has shared violent imagery and made horrifying anti-Semitic remarks. He is a doxer, someone who has put the safety of children at risk by leaking their personal information all across Discord, including in public servers. He is a child endangerer, spreading explicit content in front of underage users and standing by abusers rather than calling them out. He is someone who has expressed support for animal cruelty, mocking the lives of innocent creatures like cats and dogs. He is a pedophile sympathizer, defending the indefensible and minimizing the suffer of young victims. Matthew is a monster. There's no softer way to say it. He is a threat to the internet, a toxic presence, a danger to those around him. And the most tragic part of all this is that individuals still try to defend him. Individuals still try to act like he's just misunderstood. But if you've watched this far and still believe he's innocent, or worse, you support him despite knowing all this, then I truly believe you've lost touch with basic living being decency. Because none of this is okay. None of this is forgivable. And to anyone out there who's ever been hurt by someone like him, who's ever been mocked, violated, silenced, or laughed at, I want you to know that you are not alone. Your voice matters, and it deserves to be louder than theirs. Thank you all so much for watching, listening, and letting me speak my truth. This was not easy to say, but it needed to be said. And until next time, stay safe, stay strong, and never be afraid to call out the monsters hiding behind the masks. I'll see you in the next video. Months, I have been harassed, slandered, mistreated, threatened, and even doxed by some of the most dangerous individuals I've encountered online. All of these individuals have severely affected my mental health. They've driven me to the edge, to self-harm, and to thoughts of overdosing when I felt like I had nothing left. Starting now, you will see the truth. I will be sharing video exposés, backed with evidence, screenshots, messages, and proof of what these evil, vile, sinister, and disgusting monsters have done. They are depraved and can never take accountability for their own actions, so I have to stand up for myself. These are just a few screenshots, showing how wicked and corrupt the same individuals who called me bad are. I'm not claiming to be perfect. I've made mistakes, and I've owned them, years ago. But these individuals, they are masters of deflection, projection, and deceit. They twist stories, gaslight, and silence others, and they never apologize. And before anyone says, this is Discord.com, don't take it so seriously. Let me be clear, this isn't a game. These are real individuals, causing real harm. Cyberbullying is real. Individuals have died because of online abuse. To minimize what I've endured is to insult not only me, but all those who have suffered or lost their lives to internet harassment. So this ends now. No more silence, no more lies, no more manipulation. What I'm sharing may be hard to see, but it is the truth, and the truth deserves to be heard.
These are the only 3 videos that Decken has been spurking the fuck out. Sorry this video was delayed, it's just that I've been busy in real life. Anyway, that's all for today's Cringe compilation. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Join up the Discord server. I'm trying to hit 200 members in there. That would totally be appreciated. Follow me on Instagram because that would also be appreciated. And follow me on every platform. That would be appreciated as well. The links will be down in the description for y'all. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all in the Cringe compilation number 32 in the last Decken video. Peace!